and welcome back to another installment of Amazon Ads Q&A. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Elizabeth Greene. I'm one of the co-founders of Junglr. We're an Amazon ad agency, which is why I have the knowledge base to be able to do these live Q&As. So these are always really fun. If this is your first time joining us, I will welcome you in. The format for this is whatever streaming channel you're watching on. Feel free to drop your Amazon ad question in the comment box. I'll be pulling those up on screen and I will be answering your questions live. So if you are interested in catching one of these other ones, I know I share this every week, but just so you're aware, we have on our website, which is at junglr.com. If you go to the resources and the Q&A section, you'll be able to see this. We also have posts of all of our upcoming lives. You can follow the calendar, which is really helpful. And then within these calendars, whenever we create these lives, you actually can see that. So you can follow the calendar, get it up, and then be able to watch it on whatever streaming channel you prefer. And for those of you watching these replays, and maybe for some reason Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is a little bit difficult for you to join, we actually have a Q&A form. Some people have used this form. I answered one of those questions last week, and so feel free to use this form. Again, this is linked on our YouTube channel to be able to drop. Other things that are pretty helpful is if you want to get access to all of our past lives. Now, these are also on our YouTube channel, which you can view here, but you can see all of the past lives, including this one that we're on right now. And then the other thing you can do is if you go to our playlist and you look at Ask Junglr clips, we're actually clipping out specific questions from the audience and then putting those into videos. We find that helpful because sometimes watching an entire live is useful, but maybe you just want to get to the specific videos. So look to see that, as well as additional videos we have coming out on the channel. So really excited. These are always pretty hopping. Last week was pretty, we had questions rolling in. So basically I budget an hour for these things, which allows the Amazon brand community or other agency community or VAs or whoever, if you got a question about Amazon advertising, this is the place to be on Thursday. So again, for any of you who are just tuning in, watching on any of the streaming channels, feel free to use the comment section to ask your Amazon ad question. And depending on how many of those we get, that depends. Most times we fill up an entire hour, but if I don't get many questions, then, we'll be here for as long as it takes for budgeting an hour. But cool projects I'm working on. I'm really stoked to get more into bulk file content. That's actually something, if you're not aware, I'm actually going to be speaking at Prosper this year, and the topic is on bulk files and how to use bulk files to do a lot of things. Most people use them for bid adjustments or launching campaigns, which those are the two most common use cases. FYI, if you're not using software and if you're still managing bids manually, I've talked to some brands who are operating in the millions, sometimes even tens of millions of dollars, and they're still doing things manually, which is insane to me. Not because I don't think you can't get good results doing it that way. Still definitely think it's not a results thing, it's a time thing at that point. And sometimes you don't end up creating sort of the granular ad structure that's needed just because managing it manually is like intense, and that's where bulk files come in. So it's one of my great loves in life. I really like doing it. The one that I'm working on right now, actually I filmed the video and now I just today created the resource download. So actually if you go and view our channel right here, if you look at, let's see, this video here, launching campaigns using bulk files, I actually had someone DM me and said, hey, I started managing a brand with thousands of SKUs, and if it were not for your bulk file resource, I couldn't have handled it. So that's how insane bulk files are. Getting people in the chat. So hi, Liz. I hope you're doing great. I am doing, I'm doing great. Hello, hello to you, Truth. That's an awesome tag. Love it. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to roll in. If you guys have any Amazon ad questions, feel free. But the one that I did get a question on, and to be honest, I've been a little backlogged, so I haven't gotten to it as soon as I wanted to. But somebody actually wrote in, I think it was one of the questions through our newsletter, which we have a newsletter that goes out every Tuesday. They signed up for it, and within that it said, like, hey, is there any topics you want us to cover? Somebody was like, hey, how do you add negatives? So actually filmed the video. It is currently edited. It's in the works, and I'm going to be putting this as a downloadable resource, which also contains a tool that helps you format ASINs, which is pretty nice. Not going to lie. So stoked. That should be coming out. My guess is early next week, probably. So look to see that on the channel, which means if you're not subscribed yet, I highly recommend you subscribe. Cool. Done at Junglr. Awesome. Yeah. Feel free. All right, cool. We got a question rolling through. So yeah, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Does optimizing the product page improve the conversion rate? It's yes. Could you please explain in brief? Yeah. Absolutely. So yes, optimizing your product page, I will say asterisks can improve your conversion rate. So let's think about it in the context of the shopper journey, right? So someone sees your listing, they click onto your listing, and then they're browsing your listing, and the question that they're asking themselves is, does this product help me with whatever problem that I want? Or they're using the listing to identify if that is the correct solution for them. Maybe it would be a better way to do it. A classic example of this is I was going through and I was trying to purchase a storage system for myself that would I could store things underneath a cabinet. Now, the thing that I needed to know in this was my cabinet was very short. So I had a very specific solution, and it's very narrow. And so a lot of times if people are doing like under bed storage, right, it's kind of like it's going to fit. They don't really have to worry about those are pretty typical, about the same size, right? However, for my particular, again, solution I'm looking to for my problem of I need to increase my storage capacity in my house. I had a very limited, it had to fit within a certain width, and it had to be within a certain height. And you would be very, very surprised as to how many of those, kind of like movable rolling storage systems didn't, maybe I missed it somewhere in the listings, but they didn't prominently display the width and the height. A lot of them do, but then some of them don't. Or some of them only had it in centimeters, and I'm in the US and my brain just doesn't think it's centimeters. I'm sorry. I'm not it's kind of difficult for me to really visualize the metric system, right? So in those cases, those products did not get my conversion. I didn't order them because I'm I can't be confident you fit my solution, right? So in those cases of listing optimization, prominently displaying most times visually within the images, maybe they put it in the bullet point somewhere. I'm a lazy shopper. I don't go through and I don't scour bullets to find the information. I want it front and center. Give it to me in the graphics, give it to me in the images. So in that case, you can see how that adding something that makes a shopper confident that you have the right solution for them will improve the conversion rates. Because if you look at, so typically you're looking at business reports, which is unit session percentages, which is the amount of units sold divided by the sessions or the traffic to the listing. So if you have a bunch of sessions or traffic going to your listing and less of those shoppers are converting, then that division problem is going to give you a really poor return. So you're going to have a bad conversion rate. If you can have the same number of shoppers, but more of those shoppers purchase, that's how it increases that conversion rate. So hopefully that was helpful. feel free, as with anything, if I answer any of these questions, feel free to ask a follow-up question in the comments, because I'm more than happy. I love the clarification, or if I hit on something you want me to expand on, make sure I absolutely do that. Cool. Great question here. Are you noticing something like when we target negative keywords, either it's exact or phrase, we see that particular keyword in the search terms again? Yes, that can happen. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of this question is, hey, I negated something, and then I go and check my search term reports later, and I'm seeing it show up in the search term report. What gives? I've added it as a negative. So there's two reasons why this might happen. One is those search terms could be triggering through other campaigns, ad groups, keywords that you're targeting in the account. So it might be that you negated in the auto campaign, but then that same search could be triggered through a broad or a phrase, or maybe you're even targeting it in exact somewhere, and so it could show up there. The second reason why this might be happening is because when you download a search term report, it contains all of the data for whatever date range that you've downloaded it in. So say you added that as a negative within the past 2 days, and then you're downloading a search term report that includes the last 30 days, well, then that search term might have triggered last Tuesday, and that's why it's in your search term reports. But if you downloaded, what should happen is that if you negate something and then you downloaded a search term report for the last 3 days, which again, from the point of when you actually negated it, then you shouldn't see it show up again in your search term report. So that would be the two reasons why it might possibly be happening. All right, another great question rolling in. Any Three Blessings says hello to you as well. So yeah, anyone joining in, feel free to drop an Amazon ad question in the comments, and we'll make sure to get those answered. That's what we're doing on how often do you optimize your campaigns? Can you please give me more clarity on the time frame you look at once you optimize your bids? Nice. Great question. So we optimize bids multiple times a week. We're currently working to test a little bit more automations, which I think can do it daily. Pros and cons to that. Using bulk files, we found that roughly 2 times a week is typically pretty good. What we do is we typically have our routine optimizations would happen a couple times a week, and then we'll also spot check manually the account. So we're actually manually reviewing the account daily, and then if manual tweaks need to happen through things we see with our spot checks, then we will optimize those bids manually. That's how it works. Let's see. Give more clarity on the time frame you look at once you optimize your bids. That is a great question. So typically for our general optimizations, and for general optimizations, I mean like our routine, is it above target A cost, below target A cost, clicks with no sales, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We found that the last 14 days tends to be a really good snapshot for a time frame. Now, the con to only looking at the last 14 days is that oftentimes there will be sort of those low cost, low bid, a couple clicks here, a couple clicks there within a 14-day window. So it only might have 3 clicks. But if you extrapolated that in like the last 30 days, the last 60 days, you would have enough clicks to be able to make a decision on those bid optimizations. And so in those cases, what we do is we will review longer date ranges. Sometimes, now this is only doable if you're inside the account, if you go into the targeting tab, but actually if you go into the targeting tab, you can actually look at lifetime for an account. And this is a really good spot check if you haven't reviewed this before in an account. And so we'll do this in all of our new accounts. We'll go in, we'll look at lifetime, and we'll select for things with 0 orders. And basically what you're looking at is what targets in my account have never converted for me ever in the entire lifetime that they've been active. And that's a really good spot check. So again, general optimizations, 14-day windows, couple times a week, do those spot checks, meaning like if I go in and I see something with like 20 clicks and no sales, I'm not going to wait till my like routine optimizations. I'm going to take care of that right now. So when I see spot checks, that's what I'm talking about. And then if you're specifically reviewing for cutting bleeders or finding waste in the account, you want to make sure that you're reviewing very long date ranges to make sure that you're catching anything that might have low volumes of clicks in a short date window. And then you would just like pass it by because you think there's not enough data when there actually is. Cool. Another great question. What are your thoughts on optimizing the placements in the running campaigns? Absolutely would optimize the placements. 100% would do that. And again, that's sort of, you could do this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It depends on how much ad spend you have in the account. The other thing to be aware of is I would be careful of the strategy you're running in that account. So for an example, oftentimes you'll see with like an auto campaign or a broad batch campaign or something, maybe the performance of top of search is really great. So a lot of times people will like push for a top of search placement. The one thing you want to understand when you're getting aggressive with things or you have any dynamics, so placements are kind of like a way to get more targeted aggression on certain things, is how many items or search terms am I potentially increasing my spend on? So an example of an auto campaign, right? Auto campaigns can target product pages, they can target keywords. I mean, there's a whole host of things that it can trigger, right? And so what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm willing to pay more for top of search on all of these hundreds, potentially thousands of different searches. Some of them may work well top of search, some of them may not. And so you can run into that's where you'll see like things like work really well and then it won't work really well and then it'll be great and then it'll be terrible. And you're like, what the heck? What we've found is that if you have any like really crazy dynamic stuff on, again, targets that have the ability to target like a plethora of different search pages, oftentimes that performance can have like wild, good, bad swings and you can run into some issues. So I would say, yes, optimize the placements. Do it minimum monthly, ideally bi-weekly, weekly. Do them incrementally. I mean, don't go from like 0 to 900. Work it up, test, adjust accordingly, and then be aware of the potential searches that could be triggered through that and be more conservative on the things that have the potential to trigger a whole bunch of different search terms. That was a long-winded answer. Hopefully that was super helpful. I definitely appreciate the question. Great question here. Yeah, so there's other people typing in the chat. Somebody's asking me if I want to build backlinks. Definitely something on my radar, but not something I'm looking to hire for at the moment. Although nice to know people are interested. Cool. So yeah, if anyone has any other Amazon ad questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going through, I know I did get some questions on not necessarily our, it wasn't necessarily the traditional form, but we did get a couple questions that came in through our newsletter subscription. So I definitely have to read through those and see if there was anything juicy. But yeah, stuff that's definitely on our mind these days is trying to figure out a great way of tracking tests and accounts. That's one fun one we're working through. Actually, we're using KPOC for our analytics software, and we're finding out that they have some insane capabilities for that. So that's a cool test we're going to be running. Cool. ASIN targeting often cannibalize sponsored product ads, top of search impressions, ? Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to figure out, when you do ASIN targeting and you have top of search impression share, like where in the world are these things showing up, right? It's a great confusing question. To be honest, I don't really have a good answer. The only thing I can tell you is that if you read the documentation for what Amazon classifies as a top of search, their top of search classification is the top 4 ad spots on that search page. And so for my understanding of that definition and classification of what constitutes a top of search placement, that means that our ASIN targeting, when it triggers the top of search placement, would be in that search grid. That is my understanding of it. That's definitely something that needs some more digging into. As far as cannibalizing it, I'm not too worried in cannibalization, providing that my overall performance for the product is solid. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Plenty of questions rolling in. Love them. Keep them coming. So do you use ASINs in your launch strategy? Yes. Yes, we do. A fabulous launch strategy. Actually, it depends on how deep you want to go, and it also depends on your ad budget. So if I have very limited ad budget and I have to be very strategic and careful, I probably would focus on my keyword targeting. However, a great rule of thumb to do is to go in, find the search, identify the keywords that you're trying to rank on, go and check those search pages on Amazon, and then scrape or grab the either the top ranked ASINs or all of those ASINs that are on the first page. If you have a product that's maybe a little bit higher priced or you have lower reviews, again, it depends on your budget and what you can afford to run on. But I would recommend, so either you can cherry pick the ones that you think you have potentially a better offer for, meaning your pricing is lower, maybe you think your images are better, maybe you have a feature that they don't, and so that gives you a competitive advantage, so you can either cherry pick these, or what you can do is you can just scrape all of them that are on the first page and then run ads against those products. And that's actually a really great strategy for that. So if we have the budget for it, we will always run ASIN targeting on our launch strategy, if we can afford to do so. Great question, though. Great questions coming in. I appreciate it. Cool. Let's see. Winning. I'm trying to look through my past questions. So if anyone's got another question about Amazon advertising, feel free to type it in the chat. Paul joining us. He said, hey, everyone just joined. Hey, Paul, welcome in. I'm glad to have you. So yeah, the format for this, anyone just popping in here, if you have an Amazon advertising question, feel free to type it in the chat. And I'll pull it up and we'll get your Amazon ad questions answered. We've had some awesome ones going in here. And for anyone watching and, just joining in, these replays are going to be live in whatever platform we're streaming them on, and they're also available on YouTube as well, because that's one of our platforms. So if you go over to our YouTube channel, which I can pull that up right now, if you search at Junglr on YouTube, it should bring it up, and you can catch all of our replays of stuff there. Cool. I'm trying to look at all of my past questions in case. Oh, this is a great one. I love this one from Daniel. Great question, Daniel. This is a common one, right? So his question is, I like to move a good performing keyword from one campaign into a new campaign that is built around a specific product. What will the effect of indexing performance on that keyword in the short term? That is a great question, and I have an out-of-the-box strategy for you. I would do this different. So yes, what Daniel is saying is, and this is just a weird funkiness with Amazon advertising. Every platform's got its nuances and things you got to learn to pivot with. One of the things in Amazon advertising particularly is that you will notice that campaigns that have been there for a long time tend to have a better performance. And if you take that keyword, same bid, same product, same everything, and then you put it in a new campaign, sometimes it can be very difficult for that performance to replicate. Meaning in the old campaign, it did phenomenal, great ACoS, great sales. And in the new campaign, it doesn't get a good ACoS. There's like little to no impressions on it. You had to bump up your bids to gain the same traction as you had before. it's just a thing to be managed. So I'm going to give you an alternative strategy, Daniel. Whenever we find something, we're like, oh, this is great, we would like to isolate it, meaning we want to get more specific, we want to lean it out. And so you would think the best strategy, do exactly what Daniel's saying, is like, all right, let's take this out, let's build a campaign around it, and then we want to put a specific product in here and like get this rolling. I would do the opposite. We call this repurposing the old campaigns. And so what we'll do is we'll actually, all of the good stuff that we want to save, all of the best keywords, we would keep them in the original campaign. And then what we'll do is for all of the keywords that, like maybe they got okay sales, but all the stuff that's not the best stuff, we pause those, and then we'll create new campaigns with the underperforming targets, or maybe not necessarily underperforming, but at least not performing at the level of like that best cream of the crop stuff we want to keep. That way we can give our, best keywords and best items, keep that momentum that they've gained in that performing campaign. And then we know performance is going to be kind of fluctuating, but that's going to be on all the stuff that wasn't our priority targets. So hopefully that was helpful, Daniel. But that was a great question. I appreciate you bringing it up, because that's one. It can be a bit tricky, right, to think through that, because it sounds like you've seen those performance drops before. You're asking about, what's the effect of that going to be. Daniel says, thank you so much. That was very helpful. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Thank you for the question. Again, this segment would not be as good as it is without you guys' questions. So I appreciate everyone joining in. Oh, by the way, I need to put out content on it. But did anyone see that sponsored display ads now have geo-targeting? Yep, you can actually target specific sections of the country now in sponsored display ads. Wild. For the longest time, people would say like, oh, I perform the best on the East Coast, or I do the best on the West Coast, or I have a product that's more applicable, to people with colder weather or warmer weather. Is there anything I can do about it? And the answer used to be, no, sorry, geo-targeting is not available in Amazon advertising. Now, you could do that with DSP if you were running it, but a lot of the other sellers, depending on budgets, it might not have made sense for them to do SP. Now you can have the ability to run geo-targeting. So if you have a product that you've always known works better in a certain segment of the country, I would go through there and I would test out the geo-targeting. You also can look at your order history, because you really do want to base this on data. You don't want to be like, I think I do better here. It's always good to base this on data. If you're looking for data, you want to go through and check your order history. You can actually get the zip codes of your specific orders, and then that can help inform if you want to test out this geo-targeting. So that's something, that's like a very recent, within the past couple of days update, I think. So it's brand new, yet to be seen the performance on that. But if you were wondering, I would recommend going and testing, especially if you can quantify, again, with the data, that you have a very specific segment of the country that you perform best in. Cool. I'm trying to look back on past questions I had this week. Oh, hello, welcome back. I appreciate the question. I've heard that there's a way to do sponsored display video as top of search. Is there? I don't know. I know you can do sponsored display video. No. Okay. So I'm actually gonna hop into an account now, and I'm gonna check that. I don't believe it's sponsored display. You can get the top of search placement with a sponsored brand video. And how you would do that is you set up a sponsored brand video and you direct the traffic to a store page. If you set up a sponsored brands video and that traffic is running to a store page, then you will get the top of search placement, which is going to also, fun fact, affect your it's going to affect your impression share, because actually the sponsored brand ads that are directed to store pages only show at top of search, which is a little bit funky, which means if you want to say heavily invest in your top of search impression share, then you actually can set pretty high bids for that and know that you're only going to be affecting your top of search and impressions there, and that's the only thing. But actually, that's a great question. I know you can run sponsored. I know you can run sponsored display video. However, not 100% sure on the top of search thing. So, Daniel has a question. Love this session. Awesome. Love that you're able to join. This is awesome. I do these every Thursday, by the way. So if you have any Amazon ad questions and you're like, have them burning and you want to get an answer, feel free to join. But do you have a detailed audit videos on YouTube? You know, I don't believe I do. I'll have to ask my video editor, because I do know that in one of these live sessions, somebody asked about how do you do audits on accounts. I'm going to have to make a note and see if we can find that and potentially clip that and send a video. If so, we'll definitely release that. But I unfortunately don't have any detailed, say, audit videos. As far as like a walking through step by step. The reason why is because our current process is a little bit different than it used to be, and it contains like a whole bunch of like in-house built reports. And so those ones would be probably kind of annoying for you to watch, because I'd be like, hey, look at all this awesome stuff. Sorry, you can't have access to it. This proprietary reporting we built. So, but yeah, if you have any specific questions on audits or stuff, feel free to type them in the chat. And I'll definitely make sure that those get answered for you. Let me. Cool. I think I can do this. I'm looking in Campaign Manager right now. I'm going to mess around with the sponsor display and let's see if we can't get something interesting in here. Yep, so you can do videos. Changing optimization strategy to reach. Okay, let's look at Amazon store pages. All right, let's see if where this shows up. Logo, where does my ad show? Example of placement. It looks like, yeah, I'm not sure in sponsored display ads. It looks like those show, it looks like those show on the product pages. You may be able to do it at top of search. I am 100% certain though. I'm going to go check inside of the sponsored brand ads, but I do know for a fact that if you select a store page and you put that on video, let's see, add this. Yeah. All right, so now let's see. Store page, landing page is store page. Okay. Yeah, the store page can get you store page landings for Amazon brand ads, I think is where you get that. information. Cool. Sorry. Kelsey, hey. Hey, Kelsey. Which, by the way, Kelsey and her husband have an awesome listing optimization agency. I highly recommend you check them out if you're looking for listing optimizations. Great question on what's your strategy for cutting irrelevant ad spend? For example, reducing firm's product isn't likely to convert for, such as adding negatives. Good question, Kelsey. Yeah, so we would start from the bottom as far as impact on orders and work our way up. That would be my recommendation. So the way you would do this, I kind of shared this a little bit in one of the first questions, but I would go to the targeting tab. I would look at lifetime view. I would filter by orders equals 0, and then I would sort by clicks or spend highest to lowest. And what you want to look at is where are all of the targets that have never converted for me. Now, what I'm going to tell you is a very intense strategy. There's a couple ways you can do this. One, you could just like lower bids. The other thing, if you're like really intensely want to go through the account, you can look at everything that has a large cluster of clicks on it and just pause those, just straight up pause them. And then that will clear out a lot of ad waste. The other thing you can do is, of course, go into your search term reports, filter for long date ranges. So I think like 60 days, past 60, potentially 90 days. I'm trying to remember what's available in a search term report. Look at all of that. A lot of clicks, no orders, add those as negative. So you're getting rid of everything that had no impact on orders. Then the next level up from that is again looking at I like looking at lifetime date range, and I want to see what has, you know, maybe over 100% ACoS with only 1 to 2 orders and a high volume of clicks, meaning like I got, typically for us it's about 20 clicks. So that's everything that got a lot of clicks, has a really low conversion rate, and has very low order volume, meaning it's not going to have as much of an impact on my ad sales if I get rid of these, because they only have a couple sales happening for me. So I can get rid of those. Again, our typical rule of thumb for these is pausing anything with really high bids. Not pausing, setting very low bids. Sorry, I can't talk today. Setting very low bids for these items. Again, high cost, low order volume. And then work up from there. Or again, if you need a really extreme version of this, then you can pause it. Let's see, what's the other level of doing it? One other thing you can look at, again, if you want to do an account reset, we're talking about being very like absolutely must lower spend. Where can we pull out bad stuff from the account? It's not a bad idea to do this periodically as well. We also do this sort of like spot checks, intense deep looks at the account. But the other thing you can do is look at everything that has a high bid that has not converted, potentially even has low impressions. These are technically probably not spending that much, but oftentimes what happens if you have your typical bid optimizations, maybe you have a software that's running, what it will do is it will say, oh, no impressions, increase the bid. Oh, we're not getting any impressions, increase the bid. And what can happen if you're not watching this? Oh goodness, and you don't have any good like fail safes in the account in terms of like how high the bids could potentially be scaled. I've seen accounts with like $20 bids and some crazy stuff. So what we'll do is we'll go through and be like, okay, what is a reasonable starting bid for this account, given the conversion rates, given our target ACoS? What we'll do is we'll basically like peruse the account and we'll identify these and then just do a bid reset on them, meaning we're going to lower the bids to whatever we deemed as like our reasonable starting point, which is normally on the lower end. And what this will do is as you prune stuff out of the account, if that kind of frees up additional ad spend in the campaigns, maybe the budget's been running out and you've essentially got rid of all those targets. Sometimes these like untested targets will start like popping off and you'll get ad spend showing up all over the place. And you're like, oh my gosh, where the heck did this come from? It came from you not paying attention that you were just continuously increasing things because it was part of a routine. So that's a really good reset. And then the other thing you would want to do is, of course, just identify the things that have like really high ACoS and again are not your ranking targets. So you want to be careful. Really, it's trying to optimize things that are underperforming. And then you also want to be really intentional with your ranking or high value targets, meaning the things that are helping to drive that market share, that search rank or orders for the brand. You just treat those, you recognize that these are things that you're going to kind of like insulate from extreme optimizations, and then everything else you just kind of prune maliciously. Hopefully that answered the question. I got another one. One more for today. How do you make pricing decisions? How do you convince a client for a certain price by seeing a competition? Great question. Cool. Yeah, Kelsey says, love it. Great advice. Makes perfect sense. Thank you for the detailed reply. Awesome. My pleasure. Great one. Yeah, this is a hard one because pricing definitely plays into margins, right? Pricing really only matters in terms of conversion rates. If the product is struggling to convert, that's where pricing is going to come into play. If the pricing. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to see if I can jump into account in a way that's not going to like share anything. Two places you want to look, because basically what you want to illustrate to the client or you want to show is that, hey, it's within your best interest to lower the pricing on this particular product. And you want to show them with data, right? You want to be like, oh, hey, what's going to happen is it's like, oh, all of your competitors are priced lower than you. And they'll be like, yeah, but like we have a better product, right? Our product is stronger or whatever. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you really want to be able to test that. And so the couple places that you can look is one is going to be brand metrics, which is inside of the ad console. If you go to insights and planning inside of the ad console and you go click on your brand metrics, and I'm trying to see right now, I'm going to click on one. I'm going to have to blur out some stuff. Give me a hot minute to do that. But you want to look at how am I doing versus the competition is essentially what you want to be able to demonstrate. So here's a really good, let me double check this. All right. So we're inside the ad console. Again, insights and planning, pop it open, go to brand metrics, and you're going to have to click down into this view. But what you're going to see is this. So the customer conversion rates. If you're struggling with conversion rates, so here you can see the conversion rates have improved. This is our brand versus the entire average for the category. And so what we're looking at here is if our conversion rates, I'm going to lower that so you can see, but like if our conversion rates are lower than the category average, what we've noted is that it's a bit hard to gain market share in those spaces. So if you're seeing struggles with conversion rate and you've noted that the price difference most likely is hurting the client, well, that would be something that I would bring to it. And I would screenshot that and I would say, hey, look, this is the average for your category. And one thing that we're definitely noting is that, again, you're not making the sales that you want to, again, due to issues with the pricing. And I'm going to see, I got some time left. Give me a minute, which if you have any follow-up questions on that, let me know. Happy to answer them for you. But I'm going to try and pop open. I want to see if I can look at Product Opportunity Explorer, because that is the greatest place to share with clients potential changes in the shopper pricing. So let me see. All right, here's a great one. Product Opportunity Explorer. There is a ton of information that can be gleaned from this. And the benefit is you only have to get access to this through a single account. You just need the one account to have access to it, and you can search anything. You know, these are called niches. I'm not going to go into the full definitions of this. But if you go into the account, if you can get the client to give you access to Product Opportunity Explorer, which if you show it to them, they'll probably be absolutely thrilled for you to look at it for them. And one thing that you can do is if you look at the trends, you can actually look at the average price trends in your category. which can be very helpful because if you're saying like, hey, the average price trends, and you can also see the brand count, meaning number of brands that are selling in this, what is Amazon's saying is a niche. I recommend checking whatever you're trying to understand, like what does Amazon need by a niche or what do they mean by this? I would check. This is called the metrics glossary. This is basically I wouldn't call it like a dictionary, but it basically explains how they calculate things when they say it defines things for you, which is really helpful. But yeah, I would recommend looking at this, and you can say like, hey, one thing we've noticed is that the average purchase price has gone down in your category. Really recommend you look into this. You can also see the products. So this can be helpful, and pull open the average selling price. So if they're going after a particular search term, which you can see here, search terms, and this will give you the top clicked products. But if they're going after it, so you could see like these are the top products in the niche. And then you can also display, so it even says like their click share, and then this gives you the average selling price to be like, hey, the average selling price, and then look how they rank in the particular niche. I think, and again, it's just saying, I'm presenting this data to you because I've done the analysis. I want you to be able to sell more. I understand that lowering price eats into margin. So obviously the brand owner definitely has to be the one to make that decision, because if you lower your price point below what you can afford, and you're not even profitable after Amazon fees, let alone advertising, that's why it's going to be a huge issue. And that's why a lot of brands are very hesitant to lower prices, and a lot of brands are increasing prices these days because they need to be able to stay in business. That being said, you definitely have to take a look at the market. So again, product opportunity explorer, brand metrics are going to be two fabulous ways to take a look at that. So highly recommend checking those out, aggregating and bringing that advice to your brand, and then, just trying to consult them on that. And the also thing you can do is say like, hey, let's run a limited test. So can you test lowering your prices for a little bit? And what we'll do is help you track your conversion rates and note if conversion rates and sales increase. And sometimes the increase in sales can make up for whatever potential decreases you would have if you're lowering the sale price, which can be helpful as well. Cool. Looks like we got about 10 minutes left. Not seeing any other questions roll in the chat, so I'm going to just quickly share. So hopefully everyone has found this valuable. Again, look out for next week. So if you want, you can go to our website or go directly junglr.com/live. Or if you are on the website, if you go to this resource section, you'll see this Q&As. If you want to see what the upcoming Q&As are, or we have, again, a Google Calendar, so we're adding links to. So if you want to follow the calendar, I highly recommend you follow the calendar. Then you'll get notified of when we're going live. And if for whatever reason you're watching the replay and you're like, I'm really liking these replays, this stuff is really great, but I want to ask my question and I can't make the lives, feel free to use this form. I will actually prioritize getting these. And if you want to watch any of our past lives, we do have those in playlists. We're adding them to playlists. And so you can make sure to keep on top of it, which is on our YouTube channel. So I love it. This has been great. I really appreciate everyone joining and appreciate all the questions. There were some really, really good ones. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week.